Welcome, Andy Osenga, to the No Filters pod. Thanks for being on with us. We're excited to have you today.
So excited. I've actually been singing all day long just because I've been thinking about you today, Andy. And Sarah literally goes, "Are you going to do this on the show?" And I was like, "No," but here I am. I've been walking around like in the kitchen. I was going, "Oh, Osenga," but I don't have the next part. But that just was enough.
Dom, the jingle guy, apparently he likes jingles. Anyways, Andy Osenga, thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Can you introduce yourself to the pod people? Tell us who you are, what you do, all the things.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Osenga. I do a lot of different things.
You do.
I don't quite know what I do. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I'm a girl dad. I make a lot of music on my own, and then I help a lot of artists make music. And so I met Sarah in my previous job at a record company where I met Sarah and was able to bring her into a record company called Integrity Music, and got to work with her for 5-ish years, 5.5 years, as her A&R person. And which was a blast, and got to help her make all of her music there for 5 and so years, and which is really fun. And so got to be a big part of just kind of the music that you made, and that was awesome.
And not just me, other artists there as well.
A lot of artists. So again, I help a lot of artists just kind of both on the sort of strategy side and business side, and then also the sort of the heart side. What is it that they want to say, and help them figure out kind of their artistic voice, and figure out the best way to communicate what's on their heart. And then also I'm just a musician, and I love playing guitar, and helping people just make the music as good as it can be. So however I can help artists, I love to do that. So yeah.
And you're also a prolific songwriter in your own right, and artist in your own right. I'm just going to add that in there.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just a garden, and just stuff grows. Yeah.
So much stuff. I love it so much. I was just thinking about this earlier today, how we met through a Facebook message. That was the first time that I was introduced to you. You messaged me on Facebook, and I was like, this is not real. People from labels do not message on Facebook. And you did. You messaged me. I think it was because I had gone on tour with Josh Wilson, who's one of your friends and an artist, and an amazing guy and a mutual friend of ours. And I don't remember how you came across me, but I think maybe it was through that. And then you messaged me, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to take a risk and go have coffee with this dude. And then it opened up this door to a whole new world that I just had no idea how to even plan for in my life. I'm just so grateful for you. So for those who don't know, or we just talked about it, you were my A&R at the label, and for multiple projects, for this project, A New Reality. And I guess like I was thinking about this earlier too, like what does A&R actually mean? Is it artist representative, or is it something else? Like, what does it stand for? Is it an acronym?
Yeah, people think it means all kinds of things.
Okay.
It means artist relations, artist representative. The joke is that it means airports and restaurants, which it kind of does. But it actually means artists and repertoire. So artists and their songs. Yeah, which is pretty accurate. So it really, essentially the job is kind of, it's the liaison between a record label and an artist. So it's somebody who kind of speaks both languages and communicates between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I were to put it in simple terms, I felt like you were the co-pilot with me on a lot of my projects. Like I just looked to you for so many different things, whether it was songwriting. I mean, there were so many different meetings that we had, right? For every project, like songwriting meetings where we would just sit in a room and literally like comb over every lyric and try to like dissect songs and make sure that they were right, and producers. And I mean, there were so many like pieces that you had a hand in on the projects. It's just crazy when I think back on it, like what a massive job that was, you know, and you really have to like get along with the person in order for it to make it work. But I literally cannot imagine like the projects that I've released in the last couple of years, Light, London Sessions, and A New Reality, existing without you. So I'm just so grateful for who you are and your influence in those projects. You know, I just want to say that to you, like on a recording and in front of other people, that they wouldn't exist without you and who you are. I guess like, I think what's so unique about you, Andy, is that you're an artist in your own right. You're a songwriter in your own right. So like, how did that influence how you were an A&R? You know what I mean? Like, did it make it easier? Was it harder? You know what I mean? Like, was it more fun because you understood it as an artist? Like does that make sense?
Well, first of all, you're really kind to say all that. Thank you. And it's an honor to get to do that with you. Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like any of us learn how to do this on our own. Like there's this sort of myth of the Bob Dylan who just appears one day and is the greatest living songwriter, or Bon Iver that goes into a cabin in the woods and by himself creates this amazing piece. But that's not real. I mean, they may have done that thing, but like somebody taught them how to play guitar, and somebody who owned that cabin and paid for them to be able to go do that thing, and who taught them how to use Pro Tools, and whose guitar did they borrow, and like, you know, like we are all taught how to do this stuff, and we are all surrounded by a community of people who play other instruments and who do other jobs and who are mixing the records and mastering the records and booking the shows and driving to the shows and setting up the lights and turning on the sound, and like this stuff doesn't happen in isolation. And so and so it's there are people who have really poured into me as people who are a generation above me, and then also just my friends, and just I have come up in a community kind of from when I first came to town that really has shaped me. And so I just love getting to be a part of that for other people. And then I just love making music, and I love songs. And so when you find somebody who has something to say, and you can just feel that energy of, I feel like it's like watching like the first of like a series of superhero movies where like Spider-Man gets bit by the spider, but like doesn't know how to use his powers. And there's that like montage where like he starts like jumping out of a window, but smashes into the side of a building. You know, that's like the energy of you in those first couple records where you're like, oh, I could do this. Oh wait, so I can sing that. I can make my record sound like this. Yeah. I don't have to do that. I can do this. And that sense of adventure and freedom and just feeling like the wind at your back, like that's so invigorating. And to be able to be behind you kind of going, yeah, go. Like that's so fun. So yeah, I just really enjoy getting to do that. And being able to be a musician and be a songwriter and be an audio engineer means that I can know what's possible. Yeah. And be able to speak into it at an educated level and say, you know what you could do? You could try this. Or did you know you could do this? Which is just helpful.
Totally.
So. Yeah. It makes sense that to be a great A&R person, or really to be probably great at anything in the music industry, it would make sense that you need to like really love and champion artists and love and champion songs. But how many would you say? I mean, I'm sure you don't have the stats pulled up, but is it relatively common that people who work in A&R are themselves recording artists, or would you say that's an anomaly, or maybe half and half? Because it seems like it would be a pretty stellar asset, but obviously not everybody has that gift. So
yeah, I think there are kind of two schools. There are people who are like scouts, who are data people, who are looking at trends and who are looking at TikTok and going, ooh, I think this person's blowing up, and they're not musical. They're chasing a thing, and they maybe have a good instinct, and they want to be first to the party. Those people are really valuable. They found amazing artists. most A&R people are that, especially these days. But some of the like legendary A&R people who've like had these long careers tend to be the musicians. Like Don Was, who runs Blue Note Records now, who has put out tons of super cool records. That's like in the Capitol Tower, but like he also has produced the Rolling Stones, and he plays bass on all these amazing. He's a great bass player. He produces John Mayer records. Like he's a musician's musician, and he runs this label where he signs jazz players and like makes super cool artsy fart records, but occasionally wins the Grammys and has hit albums too. And so there are people like that, but we tend to get bored. And so we don't stay very long.
Yeah.
I like it.
It can be kind of restless.
Yeah. That brings up a question that I have, which is that like in this day and age, right, of social media and things going viral, like as an artist or even from an A&R perspective or just as a human being, like how do we navigate creating and releasing music in this world that feels like everything is becoming about like a moment that's passing, right? That's fleeting, or like trying to become viral or whatever, as opposed to, and like like a content creator, right? Versus like a maker of like just trying to make art for the sake of making art. You know what I mean? Like I find this wrestle within myself, right? A lot as an artist, and trying to navigate that landscape and learn how to like be true to myself and be true to what I feel I have to say, right? The things that I want to say and have to say, but then also falling victim to like the like viral kind of thing, machine, the algorithm, you know? And fighting those things. Like, how have you navigated that? Are you navigating that? What's ways that you've found to find peace in the midst of the noise, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a big question. I know that's a big question.
There's a lot of questions in that question.
Yeah, I know.
I think if you have something that you really care about saying and you don't say it, or you change it because of you want to sell more records or you want to be popular, and that's bigger than even being an artist. You know, if you don't obey because you want to be popular, that's not good. Yeah. That's unhealthy. That's not following the Lord. That puts you in a place where you are in conflict with yourself. And at the end of the day, that's not a life that feels good. Right. And you feel that burden. When you obey and you feel it and you follow what you feel like the Lord has on your heart, that is not always well received. And you will be in conflict. The world, we will always be in conflict. So whatever path you choose, you will be in conflict. So in one sense, you kind of choose which conflict you want to. You choose your battles, right?
Yeah.
Is it an inner one or is it an outer one? And so I've chosen to pick outer battles rather than inner battles, which is a hard fought decision. I didn't know that earlier on. So that's one answer. The other answer is that like the mediums are always changing, and that can be frustrating, but it can also be really invigorating. So
yeah,
I think the more open-handed you can be with that, the more fun you can have with it. I think a record's 10 songs and it's gotta be, people gotta listen to the whole thing, and that's, well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it can be. And you'll find your people, and that's great. But like, Okay, well, you keep selling cassettes, man. That's awesome. And that's fine. But I also really, to me, I kind of love messing with the medium. And I always love finding artists who, in any genre of any kind of art, who go, okay, so this is the limit. Let's see what we can do with it. And you know me, I'm always messing with the limits of, okay, this is the shape of the container. What can we do with it? One of the things, a little fact that I love is that every Hank Williams song, old country artist who wrote I Saw the Light, every Hank Williams song is 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. Every single song.
Wow. I never realized.
If you go look at him on Spotify, they're within 2:38 and like 2:42 or within 5 seconds. And you know why?
No.
Because he was solely a jukebox artist. He never made an album. He only made singles. And all of his singles were for jukeboxes. And jukebox records were 2 minutes and 40 seconds long.
Wow.
So if your song was shorter than that, there was just silence at the end of the record before the next song would play. And if it was too long, then they didn't hear the end of the song. Wow. So he wrote all of his songs to be a certain length.
Wow.
And the guy wrote these amazing songs that have lived 100 years.
Right.
And like, okay, he just learned to play within the medium. That's the medium. That's the shape. Like totally. I'm a guitar player. That's the shape of the neck. You learn to play within the shape of the neck. And then I remember I saw John Mayer one time do something. He did the thing with like I was like, I didn't even know that. I've never seen anyone play up there. I didn't know that was part of the instrument.
Right.
So I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, like up by the tuning pegs.
Yeah,
like
he did this,
bending stuff.
and then he bent. Anyway, I could go into it. It's nerdy and it doesn't matter. I'll just say it blew my mind. But it's fun to me. Whenever there's the new mediums are fun because you get to explore and create with them. So.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, there is a tension with art. Like I know a lot of times we all love to see artists push the boundaries and think outside the box. I mean, I think we're all kind of craving that. But there is something to be said for working within the confines that you're in and doing the best you can in those. Like, okay, this is how long it's got to be. It's interesting. I'm curious to know what you think. I mean, so look, we live in Nashville. I think we should talk about that. We should talk about Nashville a little bit as Music City, and we're basically talking about the music industry and our experiences in it. Like we live in Nashville. A lot of times there's networking. I don't know how often, especially in your old roles, you were pitched or somebody asked you, to go out to coffee. Maybe that didn't happen as much as I would imagine it does. But I'm curious if you think there's like maybe one thing or a couple of standout things that you would feel like most artists or aspiring artists and songwriters could do. And I don't necessarily mean with their art itself, like, because it does feel to me like you can put as little into it or as much into it as you want. And we all, I'm sure at times ourselves, have given more or less to a certain endeavor. Like I think about with like what I help a lot of people look for homes, right, in real estate. Yeah. So I'm constantly seeing, like, you look at listings online and all the buyers have the same questions. Like everyone wants to know, how old's the roof? How old's the dishwasher? Not the dishwasher actually, but how old's the air conditioning?
The water heater.
The water heater. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. So it's like you have a bunch of kind of standard questions everyone's going to want to know. And you'd be shocked how few listing agents take the 15 extra minutes to go on Canva and put together like a nice, questionnaire packet that answers all your questions in one fell swoop. It's like, it's such a simple thing that is super practical and very few people do it. If you just go on Zillow and look, like very few of them have that extra step that doesn't seem to be all that complicated to do. And I know from like calling, I could either text the agent 18 questions that my buyer has, or I could just download the PDF that they've already answered the questions, So it's like, that's a simple thing. And it seems like, for example, in real estate, you can really choose what kind of agent you're going to be by how you go above and beyond.
Sure.
But that's a different thing where there's not like an artistic component there. There could be, but what I mean is like, we're trying to be salespeople in a sales job. So it's a little bit of a different motivation I've found than it is in music. But are there things like that could apply? Like if somebody comes to you, they say, hey, I want to get coffee with you. I want to show you some of my songs, or I want to kind of tell you what I've been doing, maybe pick your brain. Are there some things that are just like, hey man, this is a huge opportunity that that you're missing that you could start implementing this and you could start seeing a difference immediately? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I literally had one of those conversations today. I do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what you're talking about, how you care for a client, as a realtor is not terribly different from how an artist cares for their audience. You know, at the end of the day, like we're communicating something, and we are, a lot of being an artist is problem solving. It's creative problem solving. It's going, I want to tell you this, and what are the series of decisions we make to get this information to you in the most beautiful way possible. And then it's a series of like fixing things, you know, and trying to, just trying to get things there. And so, I mean, there's a lot of practical advice, that I give artists. And Sarah's heard all this stuff a million times.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, particularly with artists who, I can quickly go into my consultant TED talk. Do
it.
Try to keep this really short. I'll say the two things. If people want to go, I think a lot of people like to play music, like to write songs, like to sing. I'll tell you three things. I'll pick three things. I'll tell you.
Great.
Particularly people in the church, who are typically the people that I work with, who are people in some form of church life. And they love music and care about it. They would like to do it more / better. One, they feel like because of the culture we live in, that they have to do it for a living. And if they don't do it for a living, that's some sort of failure. And so I communicate. One of the things I try to tell them is that that's just a lie. Doing music for a living isn't even a thing that existed until like 70 years ago, 80 years ago. So
right.
That's a societal pressure that you're really taking on yourself, as opposed to, for the most of us, a calling that God's actually putting on our lives. My own kids who have watched their dad be a musician want to be lawyers and doctors when they grow up. Like, yeah, I love to sit and play piano. I'd like a steady job,
right?
Because it's a ridiculous way to make a living. You can still serve the Lord and play songs to your heart's content without putting yourself through this, guys.
That's amazing.
You got to really want it. I mean, really. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're a failure if you don't do it for a living. And in fact, most people, I think, are called and equipped to serve a particular group of people, a community in their church, community in their neighborhood, their own families, their own personal devotion time with them and God. They have their own stuff to work out. Even, I am a professional, and there are a lot of songs that are just for me. Nobody needs to hear them. It's just how I'm working out my own life with the Lord.
Yep.
And so I can try to communicate that to people. If people do want to get better and want to maybe make it they want to do it more and better, goals are really important. I think dreams are things that we never achieve because dreams don't exist. Dreams aren't real. Dreams are hazy. And you can't ever actually step into a dream. You never actually cross a dream off of a to-do list because a dream doesn't have anything tangible. It's just a feeling. And so what I encourage people to do is to make a couple goals and to write them on a piece of paper and to hang them up somewhere public in your house so that other people see them and so that you are held accountable to your goals. And they can be as simple as, I'd like to write 5 songs this year. I'd like to play 1 show this year. I'd like to play 100 shows this year. I'd like to make an album this year. Whatever your goals are, figure them out, talk to them with a few people that you trust, hang them up so your family, your roommate, whoever sees it and can hold you to some kind of accountability to it. And then the third thing is, if you want to treat it like any kind of job, if it's a hobby, it's what you do when you have nothing else to do. If it's any kind of job, then it is a priority and it goes on your schedule. And so put it on your schedule. And that will mean that you say no to other things because it's on your schedule. Sorry, guys, can't come over and watch the game. It's music night. And that means I go to the basement and I play guitar. I practice. I write songs. I'm trying to book shows. I'm doing whatever the thing is I do.
Right.
Mom goes into the spare bedroom and she sings on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7:30 to 9. That's what she does.
Yeah.
Dad, whatever the thing is, put it on a calendar. Your friends know, your roommate knows, your family knows. It's another public thing that you're held accountable to it. And because the truth is, if you're waiting to feel inspired to write your songs, then you're going to write a couple songs a year and they're all going to be sad because you only write when you're sad. Because if you're going to write happy songs, the more when you're happy, you're out with friends, you're on the lake, you're bowling, you're doing whatever. You're sad and you're in your apartment and you're feeling it. That's when you write your songs. So then you just get sad songs a couple times a year. And then, but if you go, I'm going to sit down to write 2 days a week.
Yeah.
45 times 45 weeks out of the year, that by the end of a year, you will have written 30 songs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's... 1 day a week, you'll have written 20 songs. And if 18 of those are terrible, you will have written 2 good songs. Great.
Yeah.
You have now accomplished something. So
yeah,
that's the kind of advice I give people. I try to give people practical advice so that they can actually look back at a year and say, I've done something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I feel like I've just rambled.
No, not at all. I think that's so helpful. And to anyone out there that's listening that is trying to do this, even as a hobby, that wants to just get better, like any of that advice is so helpful. I mean, it just reminds me of one of the things that I learned from you, from working with you, is as a songwriter, is to not settle. And just because a song is written doesn't mean it's complete. You can still tweak. I think one of the songs, I learned this from Matt Maher too, honestly, as a songwriter, one of the songs we wrote for Light, Monument, we switched after it was mastered, you know what I mean? Because the lyric wasn't right. Not, and sometimes that can be a detriment.
Boss was real happy about that one.
I'm sure your boss was, but it was right. Okay, it was right.
It was right. It got better. It was better.
But even thinking about I think back on this. Actually, this was a real learning moment for me. Was I've talked about this on the pod before. We had a Zoom meeting, you, me, and my manager David. And I think I had written up to 70 songs at this point. And I was like, all right, we're going to get in the studio. We're ready to go. I'm done with writing. I'm ready to record this thing. And you had listened to the songs and you were like, Sarah, I hate to tell you, but there's a few songs missing. And I was devastated. I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I hadn't done it right or what, what I mean? I just start to spiral. But what that taught me was that I had people on my team who were in the midst of it with me, who were speaking into that album in a way that I wasn't able to see. I needed you to speak into that moment because 3 of my favorite songs wouldn't have existed on this album without you speaking up. Communion, No Filter, and Giving Up. Literally those songs would not exist without you saying.
It would have been a really, really good record. It would have been a really, really good record, but I knew we were close to a great record.
Yeah.
And not every artist gets to ever make a great record. You made a great record. And I've worked with a lot of artists who their whole career, they never made a great record.
Wow.
And you got to make one.
Yeah. Well, and I attribute it to that moment, honestly. That was a huge thing for me and a huge learning moment for me to just be surrender the process. Sometimes you're going to have to just keep writing, and that's okay. And surround yourself with people who are going to fight for you and fight for your art in ways that you can't even imagine. You know what I mean? Like in ways that you can't. Like surround yourself with people who believe in you and believe in your art and that you can trust. That's my advice to people, you know?
Yeah. That's so good. It's so important that people champion you and believe in you. And because you really do have to be patient with yourself, and ideally you're working with people who are also a little bit patient with you, because I've just been thinking about this over and over again in life. Like you have to crawl before you can walk, and you have to walk before you can run, and you have to run before you can lunge over things. Like, you know what I mean? And like you just have to keep being patient with yourself in the process. Like, you know, to go back, I mean, Andy, obviously you're a phenomenal guitar player. Like, you know, if I'm practicing, or any young person practicing like a beginner, like guitar lick, right? Like there might be a spot where you're supposed to go up a string or down a string and add a new note. But if you haven't gotten like the fundamentals of the first part of the lick, you can't just add that next part. Like that part is supposed to be added once you've really figured out that first part. But if you're watching it on YouTube, you don't know that, because the whole video is 4 minutes. And so in 4 minutes, the guy goes from doing a very, very simple part to something really complex. And if you're just learning, you're like, oh shoot, I can't do all of it in 4 minutes. But it's like, because you could take the first 45 seconds of what a guitar teacher on YouTube shows you, and you could practice that for a month before you're ready to add the next thing on. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know if we apply that to other areas of life. I just don't know if we're patient enough with ourselves. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we live in a culture that moves so quickly. And we consume things so quickly. And I think because we consume so quickly, we think that then we have to make things so quickly. And, you know, and so when you are making things, it's a challenge to then, first, I think we have to challenge ourselves to slow down and to teach ourselves how to create at a actually sustainable, like real life pace. And hopefully that teaches us how to actually consume at a more sustainable pace. Because the algorithm is trying to force feed us, doesn't mean we need to eat everything it feeds us, you know, because we can't. We just can't. And it's not healthy. And it's like, but good things take time. And And I come from farm town, and like farm town is also like I just drove up and back this weekend, and one of the things you see too is like I forget because I don't see it all the time now. But like I was driving up, I was like, oh yeah, they're about to harvest. Like I know what the corn looks like 2 weeks before the harvest, and they're about to harvest. And my dad's about to get in a combine because he's retired. But one of his retired jobs is he like gets in the combine with his friends and like drives a tractor for like a month in October. And he loves it so much. And, but like you plant something and then you wait. And then it pokes its head out, and then it grows. And then you harvest it, and then you wait, and then you wait, and then you wait, and then you plant, and then you wait, wait, and then it grows. It's like, that's just the cycle. And we just feel like we're supposed to just harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest. Like, that's not real life.
Yeah.
And in that cycle too is actually death. It's like that after you harvest, that thing dies. It's like, so you put the record out, and then there's a season where like, okay, you got to mourn it. That creative process is done.
I know.
It's out there. You got to let it, like, you got to figure out what you have to say next. You got to wait and see what people think of it. That's hard. And there's a process of like, what's next? And our culture doesn't give us time to do that either. But, you know, everything like nature tells us, our bodies tell us, the creative process tells us that these things come in a season, you know, and And it's good for us to remember that. And so, I don't know. I'm on such a tangent, guys. I don't know where I'm going.
No, oh my gosh. I really needed to hear that today, truly.
Yeah, I'm learning today.
You are preaching, okay?
I'm in school today. First of all,
one of my friends said something that I just thought was so good. We were when I was working for this at this one of the job I had a while back, and we were being pushed for just like, because corporations are supposed to grow all the time, just year on year growth. Every year is supposed to grow. Yeah, and you always read about this in the news. Everything's supposed to grow, 3% growth every year. And we were being squeezed, and we knew we weren't going to make it, and we were like ready to get yelled at. And he was like, "Man, the only things that grow all the time are are debt and cancer." Like, yeah,
wow,
good. Like everything else goes through these cycles and these seasons, and yeah. So, but then that's also great is that like there is spring, and you wrote the song. You wrote the song. It was one of the last songs.
Yeah.
So
winter bloom.
Winter bloom.
Oh, which is a Easter egg because I haven't told
maybe
people
I must say that.
Oh my gosh. No. Where's the producer?
Can cut that? Write one of the 70 songs you wrote. I don't remember.
Cut that out.
I don't remember when they're all coming out.
Right. I know.
By the way,
me either, really.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, sometimes I see you post something on Instagram. I'm like, oh, I thought that one was already
out. No, not yet.
Well, also Instagram sometimes shows me posts from 4 months ago for no reason.
I know. It's true.
Like, why is it recommending? I'm like, what? That just happened. Like, I'm like, like Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are back together, and then it's like, no, that post was from 2 years ago. What am I?
But also, who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's why you have to. That's why as soon as you see it, you have to stop and dig, figure out what's really going on. By the way, Farmtown really could be an organic grocery store in East Nashville if it's not already. When you said you're from Farmtown.
Yeah. Look, I know apples are $5 a piece, but man, they're so good. They're so good.
It sounds like I can't afford it, to be honest. And also, could we just to go back? Your dad is obviously not trying out for the NFL. So when you said he's getting into a combine, can you explain to us, idiots, what that means?
Yeah, a combine is a giant tractor. They're harvesters that they're these giant tractors that go down cornfields, and they pick the corn from the actual corn plant. And they like take the ears of corn off, and they combine it with something. I don't actually know why they call them combines. But they're massive, and he just loves it. He sits in this tractor all day, he wears his hat, and he just like drives this thing. And it's his one of his retirement it's his like Walmart greeter job. He just gets in that tractor,
so good.
Goes to town.
That's so good. I love that.
I love it. Oh man, Andy, this has been so good. Thanks for chatting with us and hanging out and sharing your wisdom. Truly, because I feel like I've been challenged by it, but also just like, there's a lot that I needed to hear today, especially as a human being. Just like slow it down. Don't always feel like you have to produce constantly. Like I just really needed to hear that today. So
yeah.
Hopefully other people got something from this convo. I just want to, before we end, I'd love to have you tell the people what's coming up for you, because obviously we said you're an artist. I think you're writing a book right now. Am I allowed to say that? Like, what can we be looking out for from Andy Osenga in the next year?
I am writing a Substack. I have a
it's incredible,
a weekly Substack, which is like an email newsletter that goes out every like Tuesday or Wednesday. Right now I'm doing a series on the songs we don't sing. So I've been looking at sort of pre-American evangelicalism, which is what I grew up in, and just looking at historical Christianity throughout the last 2,000 years of different themes of songs that the church has sung that we don't actually sing a lot in America, and looking at what are other kinds of songs that we maybe could be singing. And what are we missing out on? And what can we learn from other cultures of the Christian church? And that's been a really fun. I've just been learning a ton. So I'm writing. Each week is a different theme of. At least that those are typically what I'm writing. So that's my Substack, which you can find that on my website. And then and then I made a lot of music the last couple years.
Yes.
That I didn't finish because I was working on your record and on a bunch of other people's records. And I would come down here to my basement and I would get almost done with records, my own records, and never finish them. And so I finally finished them all. And so now I have 3 records that are finished. And I have a song coming out every 2 weeks from starting. It's now, I don't know when this will come out, but starts September 13th through the end of 2025.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a song every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So that comes out under my name.
This is for 2026, but
yeah, okay, that's great. So then they're all out. So I've got that comes out under Andrew Osenga, and then I also made a bunch of instrumental music under the name The Quiet Hours, and I got a song under that name comes out every week. So one song comes out every week, every Friday under the name The Quiet Hours.
Wow.
An instrumental piece.
Your A&R guy must be slammed.
Yeah. Sarah and I have the same manager, and he told me to stop.
It's all good, but stop.
He was like, just stop.
Yeah, take your own advice. Let the land lie fallow for a minute.
Yeah, it all just hit at once. Yeah,
I love it. And where can they find you on socials?
I have a weird Dutch last name, but it's at Andrew Osenga, Osenga, and you can find all the other stuff from there.
Amazing.
Right on. I was just thinking about listeners of our pod will understand this throwback, but you were talking about how it is difficult to make really great things really quickly. And I don't know how Taco Bell figured it out. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the only places I can think of where something that couldn't get any better is made like in a rush, you know?
It's false. I disagree.
Can I tell you an honest thing, Tom? I've never eaten at Taco Bell.
Yes. Thank God.
Andy,
someone's on my side.
We're losing you. Okay, first of all,
are you going under a bridge?
that actually, it honestly is surprising just because of how much time you spent on the road.
Yeah,
that's the only reason that's surprising to me.
Yeah, 25 years. Yeah, I've eaten everything else terrible, but I've never eaten Taco Bell.
Maybe this year is the year. Maybe it is.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk. Like on the road, I think it's probably not worth the risk. That's why my number one filter when we were searching for our house was not just location to Taco Bell, but because you do want to be close to home if you're going to eat one. So for us, we have one right up the road. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, we've
really gone on a tangent at the end of this thing. Anyways,
this is what the people are listening for, guys. Give the people what they want.
A Taco Bell update.
Hey, I want to know this. Have you done much? I mean, you've traveled in like Texas, right?
Yeah.
Like Taco Bueno. There's a couple of these other like 24-hour taco, like fast food taco.
Never been to a Taco Bueno.
That does not sound familiar.
Okay.
What else in Texas have we been to?
There's another one too. These that are like all over. I can't remember the other one.
No.
I know Whataburger for sure out there is big, but that's a different thing.
I mean, the only other fast food place this isn't in Texas is In-N-Out is one of my favorites.
You know, we're getting one right over by you guys.
I know, and it's never going to be like a small line. No. I just feel like it's going to be perpetually a really long line.
Our Lady of Perpetual Traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's something I can see myself getting up with the early birds for, though. I get the motivation of like In-N-Out and then a hike.
Okay. I don't think I could eat In-N-Out early in the morning. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have heard other people say that there are certain times of the day they can't eat certain things. I don't get it.
Not for you.
Dom's not tracking with that. Yeah.
No.
But I totally understand.
Stomach of steel. Anyways.
Yeah.
Andrew, you've been amazing. Thanks so much.
I love you guys. This is really fun.
Love you, man. Great to see you.